I wasn't really in the room with myself anymore. I was just kind of on autopilot. I had abandoned my own energy and I was following someone else's blueprint, someone else's design, someone else's energy management profile. And I see this happen all the time, especially with the women I work with, coaches, creatives, community leaders, heart-led women, women who care deeply, women who want to get it right, women who are absolutely magical and know it and use that magic for good. Welcome back, my friends. I am, as always, so grateful to be here in your ears and in your day. I am actually recording this on a Sunday. I know. Energetic containers. Who we haven't heard of her this year. Not this year, this week. Last week was just absolutely crazy. And one of the things that I absolutely love about my business and my work and my chosen, vocation, purpose-driven mission is that I can move things around. And so when last week started getting crazy and then crazier and then crazier on top of that, I thought, you know what? I can make this easier on myself and I can move my podcast recording container to Sunday afternoon. No big deal. It's all good. Love that flexibility that business ownership gives me. And I hope that you're able to have some of that flexibility as well. All of that is to say, if you had a really rough week last week, you are in very good company because myself and pretty much everybody I talked to, we're all kind of struggling. So I usually have a pretty good finger on the pulse of like what's going on astrologically, energetically, all of that. And this felt like it just came out of left field for me. And it was a little nuts. So we had little things upon little things just stacking on each other, like, contractors showing up at the house unexpectedly. And, we switched over our phone plan from one carrier to another. And then that whole thing took 3 days to finally unlock the phone and take the fraud prevention setting off of the phone numbers and just, I don't know, it was insane. And then just, work on top of that. And, good things on top of frustrating things feel like just more overwhelm sometimes. So just really sending you a lot of good energy, a lot of empathy, because, oh my God, it was crazy. So all that said, I really hope that this week is a lot smoother and we're able to move into it together with a lot of alignment. And that kind of segues us into today's topic, which is focusing on when strategy becomes self-abandonment. And that kind of sounds counterintuitive, but I'll get into it and it'll make sense here in just a minute. So let's just start with, I love strategy. I am so strategic. My first master's degree is actually in military history, and I studied strategy along with psychology and gender and race issues. So strategy, I am here for. I also I get so ambitious about this time of year when all of the planner companies start coming out with their next year's planner. And I have definitely fallen prey to marketing for planners over and over again. I think I started 2025 off with 3 different planners, a work planner, a witchy planner, and a tarot planner. And I'm not doing that this year. But that desire for organization and planning is there. I love a cozy Notion dashboard. In fact, I just created one for my course, Astro Aligned Practice. It's all about analyzing your energy and journaling and getting your to-do list in order in a way that just feels good. A quarterly plan that leaves room for holidays, moon days, menstrual cycle, seasons. I love it. And there was a time when I had been following all the quote unquote right strategies. I had the launches, the sales funnels, the content calendars, like all the things. And suddenly I realized that I hadn't felt anything in my business for weeks. I wasn't really in the room with myself anymore. I was just kind of on autopilot. I had abandoned my own energy and I was following someone else's blueprint, someone else's design, someone else's energy management profile. And I see this happen all the time, especially with the women I work with, coaches, creatives, community leaders, heart-led women, women who care deeply, women who want to get it right, women who are absolutely magical and know it and use that magic for good. But it's so easy to fall prey to the marketing tactics out there. And marketing tactics are designed to draw us in, to help us feel something. And if we over identify with a strategy that doesn't align with what we need, or doesn't align with our inner knowing, we lose ourselves in the process. And that's where emotional, spiritual, energetic burnout kicks in. Not because we're doing too little, but because we're doing too much of what's not us. See what I mean by the title? So what does that look like? If you're out of alignment, what does that look like? You're posting on schedule, but every word just feels forced or feels lifeless. You say yes to a launch even when your body is saying, please no, please no. You're following a mentor or coach's advice and it doesn't feel like you. One of the things that I am always sure to do with my one-on-one clients is to make sure that they know they can always say, hey, that doesn't feel great. Or, hey, I don't really want to do that. I want to do this instead. And that's really important because you could listen to me as your coach, as like the leader of a course or whatever. And if you just went with what I said and you didn't consult your inner knowing, there's likely to be some misalignment there. It's just kind of how it is. What I give you, even here on the podcast, is a framework. It's a guide. It's one way to do it, and you might do it differently. And it also kind of looks like performing the business version of yourself instead of just being who you are. Right. So I know that a lot of folks have heard the whole story about Marilyn Monroe, where she, switched it on and all that. She was a performer. You shouldn't have to perform in your business. You should be able to just show up as you are. And show up in the persona that feels best for your business. So if that's a little more professional, if it's a little more laid back, it's a little more hippie, whatever it is, like being yourself and being aligned that way is the difference between success and failure. It really is. You might be nodding along. Maybe there's a knot in your stomach right now. And I just want to honor that and just express that is your body speaking up. So if you're feeling tension anywhere, pay attention to that, please. Or if you're feeling like a big relaxation, to say, oh my gosh, Megs gets it. She's talking right about, right at me. She's talking exactly about what I've experienced. Here's how it happens. Okay. So I'm just going to start out again with it's not your fault. But if you've read my book, you know that I am big on it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. So part of that responsibility is understanding what's going on. And even if this is the very first moment of you understanding what the heck is going on, it counts. So let's zoom out for a second. We live in a culture that rewards performance over presence. And it tells you and tells us, especially as women, to be productive, to be pleasing and polished all the time. And if you've ever been told you're too sensitive, too emotional, or too much, that was me. Too much, too sensitive, too loud. It makes sense that you try to buffer that with strategy, like buffer it out, basically, like smooth it out with systems, add rules in to kind of trim things down, hem it in. But there's also a nervous system piece to this. When we're in the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze mode, we tend to reach for control. We can't we don't feel in control. And strategy can feel so safe. Strategy can feel like control. And it is when it's done the right way. We have the divine masculine structure and kind of like bumpers on the bowling lanes to kind of keep us within the space we need to be in. But sometimes that strategy can become more of a cage, more of a box. And we're suddenly boxed in by this strategy, and we've been told by other people, this works. You do this and you'll make six figures. You do this and you'll do 100K in a month, blah, 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 blah. I don't know about you, but as I said, 100K in a month, my nervous system just like clenched up because that sounds terrifying to my nervous system. $10,000 a month feels good, even 20,000. But you see some of these people that are like 50, 60, $75,000 a month. I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what I would do at $75,000 a month. Like, it's a really good problem to have, but my nervous system and my body doesn't distinguish between good and bad problems, right? Like good change and bad change. It just immediately says, oh my God, that's a whole other can of worms that's opened up. There's all these other problems. There's like tax issues and like, what do I do about finances here and there? And do I need to reinvest things and blah, 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 blah. And the reality is, of course, that if I was making $75,000 a month, which, come on, universe, let's do it. I would be hiring people and I would be able to afford to hire people at that rate to just take care of that stuff for me. But it doesn't take that initial gut response of, oh God, but we get hyped up by other people that say, you can do this big thing because I did it. So that means it's possible. And the fact of the matter is they may have come up with a process to get you there. They may have turned it into a formula, but we are not machines. We are not computers. You can't just input a formula and output exactly the same thing. Okay. So if you have been caught up in, one of these situations, I know I have, then it's time to reclaim your strategy, reclaim your energy, reclaim your support, and step out of any sort of nervous system or personality or energetic suppression. Using some big words here to try to keep your attention on how important this is. So yeah, I'm going to use the word suppression because when we box ourselves into someone else's strategy, we are absolutely suppressing those parts of us. So this new strategy that we can step into is not something to just live by, but it's something to live with. And so that can look like building your business around your energy, not just your goals. Like take in your goals, but also take in your energy. Like take that into account. It can be choosing structure that supports your seasons in life. If you're going to be in a bunch of weddings in June, or if you've got kids going back to school in September, like structuring around those real life things so you can still be rocking it out in your business, making good money, taking care of all the things, but also supporting yourself through that. It looks like letting your intuition be a part of the planning and asking, is this supportive or is this self-silencing? Because the last thing you want in this day and age, when so many people are trying to silence us, is to self-silence. And one of the big things here, and one of the biggest points, I think, of this episode in particular, is that you are allowed to change your mind. You can quit a strategy midstream. You can stop doing things that don't feel like you, even if they worked before. The things that worked for me 5 years ago don't all work for me now. And the things that work for me now would not have worked for me then. Honestly, I've gone through a whole lot of nervous system healing and a lot of energy work. And so I'm able to take risks in ways that I would not have dreamt of doing 5 years ago because that freaked me the hell out and my nervous system clenched up and I couldn't see my way out of it. Okay, so energy work meets leadership, and this is where it's at. It's where your body becomes the CEO, right? So you're listening to your body. Now, some of you, if you're more a projector type or a reflector type in human design, it's going to be some more mental stuff, all that. But for most of us who are already very intuitive, we listen to our body, this is where our body becomes the authority. and we stop managing yourself and we stop managing ourselves like an algorithm and start honoring ourselves like whole human beings. That's the thing, is we are whole entities. We are a business owner or a career person or someone who works. Like, even if you don't own a business and you're listening to this and you work your job, and maybe it's a 9 to 5, maybe it's a 8 to 4, like whatever it is, that's only one part of who you are. So aligned strategy, what does that look like then? So we've talked a lot about what it doesn't look like. An aligned strategy respects your body and your energy. It evolves with your growth. It leaves some room for magic and mystery, creativity, nature walks. It honors your natural rhythms, so your menstrual cycle, your astrological placements, your seasons of creativity and rest. I have some friends who come alive in summer and absolutely rock it out. Summer is kind of my dormant time. I have like reverse hibernation. And when like September really hits, I'm so excited for September, because when September hits, I start like waking up. And October through like February, I am just like my absolute best. I just love that time. And so I plan a lot of launches, a lot of releases of things, all of that during that time, because that's when it feels best to me. You do not have to be a content machine. You get to be a sovereign person with a vision who trusts herself more than she trusts someone else's checklist. Let me say that again. You get to be a sovereign person with a vision who trusts herself more than she trusts someone else's checklist. This is freedom. This is not a failure of strategy. This is not a failure of you as a business owner. This is actual freedom and flexibility. So here's your invitation for the week. I'm going to invite you to take 5 minutes, put a little timer on your phone, and ask yourself a couple of questions. And these questions you can journal, you can meditate on, like whatever works for you. And these questions are: where am I following strategy that no longer feels true? I'll say it again. Where am I following strategy that no longer feels true? And the second one is, where am I craving softness? Slowly. Start over. Where am I craving softness, slowness, and more of me? Saying that one more time. Where am I craving softness, slowness, and more of me? And if this hits pretty deep and you want some more support, I invite you to check out my energy profile readings on my website, meganwinkler.com. It's a beautiful way to understand your natural energy and your strengths and your best strategies based on your personal energy profile blueprint. So your astrology, your human design, and Enneagram, and other details and intuitive hits that come across for me while I'm working on your stuff. When you are putting together a strategy, I encourage you to work with the things that work. Be open to new ideas and pick and choose. Like, even pick and choose things from me that work for you. And it's not that I'm saying, everything I say is not valuable. Everything I say is really valuable. It may not work for you because 2 out of the 3 things do, but that third one just doesn't feel aligned. Take the 2. Go and then combine it with somebody else's something or your own something, and like mishmash like all of this together. Like, create your own menu of things that work for you, because then that becomes your strategy. And that's where you can find all of the alignment and the stress relief and the joy that you are looking for in your business. that's what I have for you today. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Glow Up Revolution podcast. And if you need anything, please reach out to me at meganwinkler.com. Find me on Instagram at It's Megan Winkler. And come hang out on our Patreon, the Glow Up Circle. I'd love to see you there. Until next time, stay hydrated, stay safe, stay magical, and have a wonderful one. Bye now.